Welcome back, YouTube. Goat and Hog here, bringing another great edition of How Does That Work? In this one, we're going to showcase, or try to showcase, again, Goat's Witch Doctor Co-op build. If you guys missed the blooper, the outtake one that we did the other night, the link to that one's in the description. It's hilarious. You want to check that out. Goat, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, trying out the Witch Doctor here. The thing being is that the majority of his skills are all damage over time. Well, I don't know. I just was having trouble dealing with that. I made a couple of builds at work, but they never were fun to me. I like to do the damage and just do it now. Now, I do have some leftover weapons from my, wizard. And that's the Scorn and the Tormentor there. Those are both ones that I had found along the way that are actually really good. So part of this build is that those ones work really well, and then I did find this Eradicating Razor ceremonial knife for the faster attack speed and being able to do more, and I ended up crafting this mojo up. I'm still only wearing just, gear that was cast off, nothing spectacular, so this is kind of to illustrate you can make this work with not so great gear and with pretty darn good gear as well, and that's just upgrading the weapons. The important part that I did here is I did put a purple gem in the weapon to make sure that I'm getting life on hit, because it is kind of a close range build, and that's something you're going to want to work with until you have something better for life on hit. Then you can easily gem that into a damage sort of gem. So for the skills,
I was going to ask that. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was going to ask that if once you got gear dependent, this is kind of gear dependent, putting that purple gem in there to get the life on hit, but if you get a couple good weapons or some good gear that gets you some life on hit, then you can, like you said, change that out for a green or red gem.
See, like if I'm running that Scorn there, I actually found that work wonderful with just a 6% damage dealt to life. But I didn't have that on the one-hander, and I ran into getting close to losing, dying a little too frequently. So putting that in there while I try to find some more life on hit or damage dealt to life sort of equipment just helps me get along and make this work for the time being until I get that better equipment. Then it'll just boost the damage after that. So over on the skills, we have the main attack here is your Firebomb. I shouldn't say the main attack, that's just your cheap L fallback, sort of attack is the Firebomb. 110% weapon damage, and that's because that's an upfront damage, and it does a, AoE of 8 yards, so you're hitting everything. And then the Ghost Bomb room for it makes it so, in addition, you get to deal some extra damage to everything around another 28 yards. It's not a great damage boost, but it's better than nothing, and it's better than the other runes. And the other, you could probably make Poison Dart work, but that's single target damage, and it's still not that much more damage than just chucking out the Firebomb. So it gets it done a little faster, in my opinion, and you're hitting more things. And when you're up in the higher levels, you're always dealing with groups, so I like to have that one. Over here on the right trigger, I have the Fire Bats. Now here is the big damage part, and this is it's a channeling spell, and you want to just channel it as long as you can because it's a bunch of mana up front, then less as it goes. And you see with the Cloud of Bats, it swirls around you for 501 weapon damage, and then that ramps up as you sit there and channel it. So this is why you're close range, and this is where you end up doing a whole bunch of your damage. And that's why you want to have that life on hit. To get into range and to get out of range when you get in trouble, and because of the rune, to get yourself some mana back, Spirit Walk. I didn't use this when I was leveling up, but I was doing some reading, and I said, oh, I can see where that ends up being useful. You leave your physical body there, and it allows you to walk away. You can use that to get away from the elite's ice on the ground. You can use it to get out of being jailed, things like that. It works wonderful for getting away, and it also works wonderful for getting in and then actually hitting them with the Fire Bats. And then, of course, if you're running low on mana and you need it real quick, you can flip it on, do that 2 seconds of being out of it, and then boom, there is your mana back. Now, the big bad voodoo here is basically it's a buff for everybody in your party that is going to make increase your attack speed and your movement speed, and which lets you get there and do the damage. And then the fact that it's a Slam Dance rune, everybody's going to do 30% more damage. Your whole party benefits from that. It's a great thing to have. Mass Confusion, what that ends up doing, it allows you to take those groups and make them in-fight, fighting with each other, and then with a Paranoia rune, everybody takes more damage again. So that's 2 big spells right there that you can tack on more damage to both sets. And then of course, Soul Harvest. Everybody loves Soul Harvest. Now you can do a few different things with here. Because I'm in such close range all the time, I've been using Siphon for the rune. I mean, you're getting the big boost in your intelligence, and that's of course letting you, for each enemy, that lets you do more damage, which makes the fire bats hit harder. But the Siphon rune there works real well to give you a chunk of life back right while you're standing in the middle of it. You could, if you wanted to, gain mana back for it, but 39 mana times 5, 40 mana, 200 mana, it's not a whole lot. I didn't feel like it was doing much to me, or doing much for me. Making it last longer is pretty cool, but hey, I'd like to be able to just cast it as often as I want and keep getting life, and doing some extra weapon damage. When you're using a two-hander, that will actually make a big difference, but when you're using a one-hander, because the weapon damage isn't as high, because you're hitting more often, the way that all works out, it isn't as beneficial. So if you're using a two-hander, the Vengeful Spirit rune actually is really cool. But I like to use Siphon. Just boom, whole bunch of life back, you top right back off. And for the passives, all these passives are going to make everything else work better. Spirit Vessel, we're going to cool down Horrify, or we don't use Horrify, but Spirit Walk and Soul Harvest cooldowns are better. And since you tend to be right in the middle of things and you can die, boom, it'll actually let you go back to the spirit realm, run away, get some life back, and then you can, retreat out and deal with what you need to deal with. Passive 2 over here is making it Big Bad Voodoo and Hex, Big Bad Voodoo and Mass Confusion are the 2 I care about. Reducing those cooldowns by 25%. You, of course, get them more often. Of course, like I said here, we're going to get to use Spirit Walk and Soul Harvest more often. And then if you're using Grave Injustice, whenever an enemy dies within 8 yards, 2% of your maximum life and mana back. Boom, that's instant stuff back for you. And your abilities on cooldown come down. So again, it's almost like Critical Mass, but it's automatic. So you're going to bring those cooldowns, make them faster so you get to them again. And that allows you to keep Mass Confusion and Big Bad Voodoo running on a regular basis when you're in a high mob area. So as you can see, though the Scorn and the Tormentor are going to give me more damage if I want to bring those up, but we'll start off, I'll show you a little bit of how it works with just using the not-so-great main hand and, crafted offhand with a good gem in it.
Guys, I just want to give a big shout-out to Goat, because I actually got the Witch Doctor to 60 before him, and I just couldn't get the hang. I don't want to say I couldn't get the hang of it, but I just could not find my niche with it. So he hooved up, man, and got it done for us. We're going to give him 2 hooves up on this for getting this done and bringing this out for you guys. Because I couldn't get the hang. I keep saying couldn't get the hang, but I just didn't like it.
Yeah, and it's just, it's an odd class. And we're playing on Master 2 right now, by the way. And there's so many different ways to play it that I didn't find one that jumped out at me as being super awesome. But see, I'm just standing in here and using this. Here, let's get some mana back, running up to things, and let's hit everything as they're standing here. So you can see, you can chuck these really fast as using the one hand. Harvest everybody's souls, and just stand there using this. Now again, we're using, we'll throw the fetish out there. People are confused, they're fighting with each other, those are the swirls over their head, plus everybody's taking more damage. I ended up using a healing potion there because I was talking and was looking down at the bottom. Now we do need to attack faster, so let's do this. We'll throw this on. We'll go ahead and keep hitting these guys.
I got pulled
Need
too
some
and I was
life back.
coming to get into this because I like being in this.
Not ready yet. Need more mana.
Need more mana. Okay, let's go ahead and Spirit Walk.
Need healing. I have been healed.
That gets us through things. Soul Harvest, get out of the Desecration.
Yeah, I'm used to Desecration not even really affecting me too much, but man,
Then I
this
use,
guy it does.
again, to get away from it. Now, like I said, not the greatest with the first lower end gear, but it did work. So over here, if we went over to Scorn, of course you can see my DPS jumps way up there. and I have the green gem in for more critical hit, but I'm going to get my life back automatically without having to waste the gem on it. So let's see how this does. Just need to find ourselves some enemies. Oh, of course, there's no enemies here. So we'll make a little cut here, and we'll go over to another dungeon and pop right back real quick.
I don't even think we need to make a cut. We can just keep it
Oh
rolling.
yeah, it's right next door. Shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, this is actually my third. You see how big these scorn critical hits will start doing because of the fact that it's a two-hander. So the percent weapon damage makes a big difference when you're using a two-hander. Yeah, you see, that was a 600,000 critical hit, and that hadn't even ramped up yet. I think, you know, they pop by pretty fast. I think I saw some million critical hits in there in the past.
Guys, while we're looking for a big group here, I just want to throw out that we started our hardcore leveling experience, so we're filming all of that. We're recording all that, 1 to 60. Link to episode 1 will be also in the description. Make sure you guys check that out. We had some requests for that.
Need mana. We'll do this real quick. And you can see when using the two-hander, the big two-hander, I chuck these a whole lot slower, but they hit a whole lot harder.
Here we go, goat.
Heal me.
Oh, walked into the mortars again. Stand right in the middle of it. Need more mana. Throw some confusion on them, harvest them.
Mana.
You see, other than standing in those mortars, didn't have nearly as much trouble. Now the other one I do have is the Tormentor here, and that's just it has a big attack speed and critical hit damage bonus naturally. I don't get any life back on it, so it is a little rougher to use, but it can be done. It's not, it has, you know, higher, you see I get them up to 175k, and again, those weapons are really the only nice things I have. The majority of the stuff I'm actually using is not all that great, but you see I can fry one of those guys with no effort. But that's about it. The build works. It works pretty fun. The only troubles you run into is if it's a really long, drawn-out fight, you can run into some mana issues, but prudent use of Spirit Walk should make it not too bad to get anywhere and stay close to the fight. If you have to Spirit Walk out, go ahead and do that, and then just chuck fire bombs at them. And otherwise, you just stand in the middle and use your fire bats and let them ramp up and do damage.
As always, guys, let us know if there's something you want Goat to try with this character. If you different build, little variations. He did that with his wizard the last time. Let us know if you like this build or whatever. And as always, guys, leave a like, favorite, and subscribe. Goat and Hog out.